Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be able to open the first Geneva Blockchain Congress, and in turn I'd like to thank the organization committee for the invitation, and certainly foremost congratulate you on such a great initiative. That shows once more that Switzerland, and specifically Geneva, one of the pillars of the Swiss financial sector, are at the forefront of the blockchain and digital revolution. Apologies or to the blockchain maximalist. I'm a banker and only a banker, whereas as the chairman of the Swiss Bankers Association would push me perhaps to speak about many aspects of the financial center and the importance of looking forward. My talk will focus on the Swiss financial center itself and how it can emerge as a stronger Swiss financial center from the fourth industrial revolution. And I think this Congress participates to better understanding what are the options, what are the opportunities, and what is the potential for us to do our job better as a financial center, faster, in a more safer way for the benefit, of course, investors, clients, and intermediaries. I will try to revisit the topic, albeit not exhaustively, of course, explaining why Switzerland and Geneva could and shall establish themselves as leading, innovative, and sustainable locations for the blockchain technology. I insist a little bit on the word sustainable, because I think that while at the same time technology is here taking a very, very important role in transforming part of the ways the financial sectors will have to do their business tomorrow, the sustainability aspect of it has a big role to play as well. Not simply in making that technology, of course, sustainable, but also in trying to make the financial sector more relevant from a sustainable point of view, bringing financial transactions at a better cost, more efficient operational effectiveness, and also in a way that addresses the ones that today are not included in the financial sector world. In this perspective, it is worth recalling a few elements that make the success of the Swiss financial center. I will look at how banks are adapting to the wave of digitalization and how blockchain could be tackled, and will conclude with some measures, perhaps, to investigate in order to accelerate this process. So what makes a competitive center a success? As a competitive and sustainable financial center, Switzerland relies basically on four key advantages or competitive assets, which of course I will not develop in detail, but that deserves to be recalled. First and foremost, a solid set of financial institutions. Even after the latest crisis, I think we can say that on a relative basis, the Swiss financial institutions are stronger from whatever perspective we're addressing this element than they were before. And this is not the case for many of the other financial centers. This fosters reputation and certainly foremost fosters trust. Blockchain technology has to be dealing with fostering reputation and trust. Two, a constructive and balanced regulatory environment. I think in Switzerland, we have had this constructive and also this balanced regulatory environment for a long time already. We have to continue to find a balance between investors' protection on one hand and the business friendliness that we all need to be innovative. Three, the capacity or the tradition of innovation. From the watch industry to the perhaps microfinance segment of the financial sector, we've always been able in Geneva to attract the new thoughts and perhaps the talents to remain competitive and better serve the future needs of clients of the financial sectors of tomorrow. And finally, this cluster effect that Geneva and perhaps Switzerland in general appears to be for a long time already, attracting the best minds and the best entrepreneurs, combining the different disciplines in whatever the innovative trends are to be about. In relation to our financial institutions, I have repeatedly mentioned during the financial crisis that despite sometimes justified criticism, it is undeniable that the Swiss financial center always performed its role, in particular even during the most acute moments of the crisis, in two ways in particular. One, by granting credit to business. Blockchain is about also serving the SMEs, the middle size, and the big companies as well, which represent the backbone of our country. The banking sector never failed indeed in its core role of financing the economy. and this has to continue to be so, and blockchain technology is about better serving the financial need of the economy. There has never been any credit crunch, as you know, in Switzerland during the last 10 years, as opposed to the developments in Europe during the same period. Second, in the interest of investors' protection, which is another core responsibility of the financial sector, the Swiss banking sector itself successfully and very quickly implemented measures that resulted in the Swiss banks consistently ranking among the best capitalized in the world. And in 2018, the average Tier 1 capital of Swiss banks is about 18%, which is way above that most of European banks. And in the current geopolitical environment, the solidity of the Swiss banks is a true competitive advantage. This solidity has to be further enhanced by blockchain reflections, technologies, and applications. Moreover, the Swiss Financial Center has consistently taken measures to combat abuses and preserves its integrity and good reputation. In this sense, I do not believe that blockchain is about creating a parallel, a new shadow banking system, if you wish. In my very point of view, it's more about creating efficiency in the existing capital market infrastructure and in facilitating, along the way, the financing, indeed, of our SMEs. This being said, in terms of regulatory environment and innovation, it is of utmost importance to rely on a regulation that not only protects investors in the market, as I've just mentioned, but that is also business-friendly and does encourage innovation. I'm very satisfied to observe over the last couple of years that the Swiss authorities have been playing more offense than defense. For instance, the Federal Council Fintax report of November 2016 encouraged innovation and created a new category of banking licenses, the Fintax license, that entered into force a couple of weeks ago. I have to say that I was also very much impressed by the December 14, 2018 Federal Council report relating to the legal framework for distributed ledger technology and blockchain in Switzerland. And this report, as you know, followed a series of constructive positions published by both FINMA, our regulator, and the Federal Council. I have rarely seen our authority, I must say, taking such a determined stance in willing to shape an industry, especially in relationship to blockchain, both at the national, international levels, and to create the necessary conditions for Swiss champions to emerge. It is finally a personal satisfaction, I must say, to see that Geneva authorities have taken the lead to promote the canton and its fintechs. This is also being followed by our federal authorities. In one word, there is here more unity than ever. Let's see a little bit what the fourth industrial revolutions will bring about. Between 2008 and 2016, a significant part of the Swiss financial center energy or efforts of banks, authorities, regulators was focused on solving tax and regulatory issues. The Swiss Financial Center was hence forced to clean legacy issues stemming from the past in order to project itself and enable a sustainable future. I can say today that most of this work has been accomplished and that we can peacefully look ahead. And this is good so. This Congress will certainly be one of the bases on which the financial sector is looking forward to address future opportunities and ways to do business in a better and more productive way. However, during the very same period, every one of us witnessed the emergence of the fourth industrial revolution. In our daily lives, in the way information flows, in the way we work, in the way our kids and grandchildren are educated, and in the new way global supply chains are being reorganized. Needless to mention that this revolution has an impact on all industries, way beyond the financial sector, and blockchain is part of it. It is indeed interesting to see that 10 years ago, the top 5 companies by market capitalization were mostly led by oil and gas and consumer good multinationals. Since then, as you know, for the first time in history, we've seen technology companies taking the top 5 spots. Is it good or bad? That's not the question. It is a fact. And every single company, small or big, public or private, needs to live with it and adapt to it. In this technology race, Europe is unfortunately lagging the US and now of course China. The question we must ask ourselves is therefore the following: how can Switzerland emerge as a winner from the profound changes that are currently underway? In my sector, or in our sector, the financial sector, I'm firmly convinced that the digital revolution offers significant opportunities and constitutes a rejuvenating element for our financial center. At a time where margins are under pressure, innovation represents more than just an opportunity. It is a necessity in order to, one, better, of course, serve customers and gain market share, two, reduce cost and improve operational efficiency, three, better manage risks that are becoming more and more complex to address, including the integrity of data. In relation to blockchain, I would like to mention that we, for instance, at Lombardier, for instance, was the first, or we were the first among private banks to test real applications since 2016 already. I'll give you two examples. Between 2016 and 2017, our firm worked on a prototype related to structured product settlement together with our stock exchange SIX, the Swiss Stock Exchange, and other Swiss banks. In 2017, Lombardier Investment Managers, our asset management arms, was also one of the first of the world to complete a bond transaction on the blockchain. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure this was the most effective, the quickest, and the cheapest transaction we've done until here, but at least we've started. We learned a lot from this project, and the potential is there, but proper industrial solutions are yet to be developed. So I'm expecting all of you in this room today to contribute to try to define new solutions in this respect. We need it. Many other banks have also run similar projects, and I am deeply convinced that Geneva can be a strong asset to the emergence of blockchain-based industrial applications way beyond cryptocurrencies. The Lemanic Basin regroups very high expertise and talents in terms of financial service, technology, regulation, legal, and other skills. We see it today in the Geneva Blockchain Congress, and I will also give two very recent examples. One, in setting up new standards, I'm delighted to see that very high-quality work is being produced through the development of a new standards, or some new standards, by the Geneva-based Capital Market and Technology Association. These standards are really critical in order to preserve the integrity of the financial center and also have as many banks and industrial actors as possible enter the industry safely and explore market opportunities. And Geneva is the center, if I may say, of the world in terms of setting standards, in all respect, in all industry, in all sectors. So it has to be the case also for the theme of this Congress. Two, in building the next generation capital market infrastructure, I am also extremely proud of our Fintax. Important announcements have been made last week, for instance, and significant innovations, in particular in terms of financial market infrastructure, are coming through Fintax from the Lemanic region. Keep on the great work. We need it as well, and we need it very quick. Both these examples share a common point: excellence and abiding by the highest institutional standards. If I summarize my point, the worlds of traditional financial assets and digital assets will converge only by applying the highest institutional standards at all levels of the value chain. This is a necessity condition in order to fuel adoption, attract institutional players, and I look forward to hearing some of your views later on. Blockchain is therefore not about unregulated financial services. It is about applying in the world of digital assets the best possible standards while preserving agility and innovation. So what should be Switzerland's and Geneva's role? Creating champion is a complex problem, of course, but I'm absolutely convinced that Switzerland in general, and Geneva in particular by top, have a role to play and can emerge very, very strong. Our country regulatory tops the world rankings in terms of innovation. And here again, the FINMA has been on the offense side for a few years already, and I'm very proud of that. It is already home to pharmaceuticals, chemical industries, consumer good, and financial service giants. It can continue to be and take the leadership of those new trends. Switzerland is one of the top financial centers worldwide. We have a top-notch university network and polytechnic schools and an excellent apprenticeship system. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, as many of you here in this room, we work very hard. It is also essential to continue to reinforce the relationships between private and public sector or stakeholders, banks, fintech, academic world, universities, as well as political and regulatory authorities in order to establish the agenda that promotes shared interest, assure first-class education, and benefit from the capacity for innovation and technical expertise that have always been some of Switzerland's key attributes. Concretely, I think the following 4 areas must be investigated. 1, at an international level, our authorities should influence global standard in the making in all relevant multilateral organizations. We are small, we're agile, but we can be of tremendous help in influencing, well, if not shaping, those standards. Switzerland has long tradition in defining these standards that become global. We've done it in AML, we've done it in many other areas pertaining to the financial sector or other sectors. I do not forget that Geneva is also home to several international non-governmental institutions, and it's important that these organizations play their role and tell their voices. Let's take advantage of our situations to take the lead in having blockchain-related standards adopted early enough, that is, now. In Switzerland, while everybody should respect our democracy and law-making process that makes it sometimes slow, I believe we should have a swift regulatory process. It is not enough to have published very, very good report. We now have to execute the recommendations. And these recommendations and suggestions coming from the Federal Council's December 14 report should be implemented quickly. That's what I'm going to tell our President of the Confederation and Finance Ministers not later than tonight. At least the easier part is part of it. Why? Competition is, of course, global. In terms of authorization, our regulator, FINMA, which has always been very constructive, should be able to distinguish serious projects from less serious ones and deliver licenses in reasonable time frames. Why? Again, competition is global and also talent is very mobile. Last, in terms of financing, our most promising startups, not only in fintech, find it hard to raise substantial growth capital from Swiss venture capital. The paradox is that Switzerland does not lack such capital, as you know. This question has been debated many times, including at political level. This question is a question of mindset and of willingness to take some risks. And I'm sure that we all in these rooms are willing to take some of these risks. While there's no obvious solutions, we should recognize that this is an issue and create an even more supportive environment for innovators and entrepreneurs. Failing to do so will result in having our most brilliant minds, the ones that we're just attracting, not only to this room, but in general to this country, quit Switzerland or lose control of their companies to foreign-based investors. At the beginning of that trend, this is not what we should do. Ladies and gentlemen, in my personal opinion, blockchain is not about unregulated financial services. It is not about replacing banks. It is not about speculative financial universes. It is not about a short-term trend. Blockchain is about creating tomorrow's capital market infrastructure. Blockchain is about facilitating the financing of our economy, especially our SMEs. And blockchain is about making banking and technology converge to make the financial service safer, more cost-efficient, and faster to the benefit of its clients and intermediaries. Switzerland shall now put its word into action, and we shall not miss the digital asset opportunity. I am very honored to be able to open now the first Geneva Blockchain Congress, and I wish you all a very fruitful day. Thank you very much.